Casey Bats Again has a really great message to it, and to be honest, I was really pleasantly surprised because this is a 1954 short that really champions women in sport, and Disney have a bit of a history of being maybe a little bit offensive when it comes to certain certain topics that are perhaps a bit more delicate nowadays. But having said that, sometimes they do. For example, their educational short on menstruation, I thought was brilliantly done. So maybe I shouldn't be so surprised that the treatment of the female characters here was actually quite pleasing. Having said that, it does start off a little bit misogynistic because Casey wants to have a son. He wants to have a son because obviously he wants this champion baseball player. But he keeps having daughters, and his wife suggests, well, let's try again. Maybe we'll get a boy next time. I feel like this was an all too realistic attitude for people to have at one point. Um, but actually, his daughters end up being pretty good at sports, and it just goes to show that sex doesn't necessarily dictate whether or not you're going to be good at baseball. And I love the message of this. I am quite a baseball fan, not completely obsessed with baseball, but I do like baseball, so that aspect of it in those animated scenes I really enjoyed. I think the message is great. Obviously, Casey as a character kind of annoyed me, but he is a product of his time, and it is very realistic for him to think that he needs to have a son to have a successful baseball player. It's not an acceptable attitude, but it's an acceptable attitude for that character at that time. And I love the fact that his daughters are all brilliant people in their own rights, and they're all, strong, internally strong women, and also, great athletes. And that's something that I think gives us a really great message. And I think that this is something people could benefit from today, almost 70 years later, unfortunately. It still is kind of women in sports. I'm not into sports really. I don't really follow it, but I'm well aware that female sports teams do not necessarily have as much money behind them as male sports teams. Just look at football, soccer, if you like. But this shows that actually doesn't always make a difference. And I really like the message in this. The animation is really nice. It's quite funny, of course, with Casey constantly getting frustrated that it's a girl, not a boy. Kind of funny as in I like to laugh at him and his ridiculous attitude. It's a good silly symphony. It's not my favourite. It's unusual to have human protagonists in a silly symphony, so it was a little bit refreshing in that sense. And I thought it was very well developed, very enjoyable. Never going to be my favourite. It's never going to be one that I will watch again and again. I didn't think it was particularly funny, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite entertaining. Not one that I can fault. Casey Bats Again has a good message, a decent narrative, interesting characters. Nothing about it that I think didn't work.